Very good evening, everyone. I see a few people have joined, so can you confirm if I'm audible so we can start the session in a couple of minutes? You can raise your hands also. I have enabled the chat as well. Thank you, Arun Kumar. Thank you. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you all for the confirmation. I still see people flowing in, so let's wait for another couple of minutes and let's start this session. Again, a very good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to today's insightful and hands-on webinar on redefining leadership with Agentic AI. So we are delighted to welcome you to this thought-provoking session on redefining leadership with Agentic AI, the conversation designed for forward-thinking leaders, professionals, and innovators who are ready to explore how intelligent AI agents are reshaping the future of work, decision-making, and leadership. So agentic AI represents a powerful shift from passive tools to autonomous, adaptive systems that can reason, learn, act, and collaborate. In today's session, we'll unpack how AI agents process information, make decisions, evolve through learning, and operate across complex environments, transforming the way organizations function and leaders lead. And to guide us through this fascinating topic, we are honored to have with us Mr. Shyam Venkatesh, a visionary technology leader and expert in enterprise AI transformation. Mr. Shyam is the Director of Architecture in the fintech industry with over 20 plus years of experience leading high performing technology teams. In addition, he is highly skilled in Java full stack engineering, microservices, having successfully designed and deployed scalable cloud native solutions across complex enterprise environments. We'll also have an interactive Q&A session towards the end, so feel free to post your questions in the chat box. And without any further delay, let's get this session started. The stage is yours, Shyam.
Thank you, Alil. Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to today's session. I'll start sharing my screen. So while I share my screen, just if you can quickly confirm if I'm audible and you're able to see my screen. Yep, great. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Vijay. So let's get this session going. And like Alil said, this is an interactive session. So the chat option is open and you can feel free to post your questions, right? Anything around this topic, I'll be happy to answer and I will try my best to answer, right? So this is a quite a loaded topic, right? So today is a masterclass and the next 50 odd minutes we'll be discussing the topic redefining leadership with agentic AI, right? So now that's a very loaded one, right? If you look at it. But let's demystify this, let's break it down, right? And we'll try to keep it very foundational, right? And I in the end I'll give you pointers how you can take this learning to the next level, right? And help you pursue, the agentic AI and the similar technology stack as your career option, right? So to understand agentic AI, right? So I will quickly flash you what is the definition, right? The Agentic AI simply defines that these are autonomous systems, right? These are systems which are autonomous by nature and they can perceive, they can reason, they can act, and they can even learn over time, right? And it can do all these tasks with minimum or no human intervention, right? And these are not passive tools like ChatGPT or Excel macros or robotic process automation, right? Because these are more proactive tools. They take initiatives. They handle multi-step tasks. They can interact with other systems. They can talk to APIs. They can talk to communicate with users. They can use tools, right? So they act on a specific goal step by step, right? Without any human input. Those are agentic AIs. And the reason why they're getting very popular and why there's a lot of potential, right, is because of this autonomous nature and being able to do multi-step planning and be able to learn over time, right? So because of these properties of agentic AI, there's a lot of potential, right? So today we are able to build pointed automation solutions. We are able to use AI and build some automation, right? Now this is taking to another level and scaling it out across your enterprise, across volumes, right? It's very nascent, but a lot of businesses are already onto it, and they're able to like tap onto this potential, right? Now let's talk about some use cases. A simple example which can synchronize with all of you would be a customer support agent. So imagine a customer support agent who is resolving queries, and to do that, it has to pull some information from your internal systems. It has to update the tickets back. It has to escalate if needed, right? And it has to document the learnings. So doing all that, now you could build multiple automation systems and tie them together, right? Here is one autonomous agent, right, which can do all of this now, right? And even learn because these support tickets are dynamic by nature. The nature of tickets you get today will be totally different from what you get next year, right? Nature of ticket you get during let's say tax season will be totally different from what you get during let's say year end, right? So these agents can learn along the on the go. Take another example, marketing campaign agent. So you want some autonomous system to generate marketing campaign ideas for you, right? And you want a autonomous system that can create visuals for you, who can write ad copies, who can do A/B testing, right? Now you have the marketing idea, you want to test it on real platforms, you want to do A/B testing, right? So you need to you probably need to put a lot of effort in building automation on this, right? Whereas an agentic AI can do it much better and at scale. And we will get into details how you can do that, right? I'm just introducing you what are agentic AI and what are some of the examples. Another example could be a financial assistant agent, right, which can monitor, let's say it has to monitor the macroeconomic, indicators across the globe, right, and summarize it for, which is relevant to the stakeholders, right, who are taking financial decisions. So this agent can monitor financial reports, it will flag anomalies, it can generate reports, it will draft emails, right, to the relevant stakeholders. So this agentic AI, if you want to draw parallels, you can imagine this to be a self-driven junior associate, right, who works 24/7, who follows your instructions, who learns very quickly, who can collaborate with tools, who can collaborate with humans, right? So that's a introduction, but to set the level stage, right? To set some context to everyone here. I see about 20 odd people who has joined this webinar. I want to set some background uh, before we get on to agentic AI and how it is doing autonomous multi-step planning step by step, right? So before that, let me talk about AI, AI and then Gen AI, and then how we conceptualize this agentic AI. right? So, AI, we all know there was the late 18th century, there was the Industrial Revolution, right, which was focused on mechanical power, and then there was mass production, the factory line, industrialization happened for mass production. And then in the mid 20th century, there was another industrial revolution we call the Industry 3.0, where automation and computing became possible, right? Computers came into existence, right? There was the rise of programmable logic controllers, right? We were able to do computations, right? And in the early 21st century, there was data and connectivity, right? So networking became quite easy. IoTs, cloud computing, we saw the advent of these technologies, right? And some early AI, right? The early 21st century. So now and beyond is coined as Industry 5.0, where we are seeing human-centric AI, where we are talking about innovations such as Gen AI, where human machine is able to collaborate very well with machine and vice versa, right? And there is personalization. It's not like very generic, right? It's not that you go and you're able to do something which is very generic, right? It's all personalized. There is creative augmentation, right? There is this intelligence, and there is decision intelligence. You are able to take decision using AI, but taking decision using intelligence, right? In healthcare, for example, I'm able to diagnose diseases using scans better than the best radiologist out there. In retail, someone is able to use AI to create personalized marketing content in few seconds, right? And even your enterprises, you might be aware that co-pilots are writing code, right? They're generating content, they're generating communications, they're reviewing legal docs and generating legal docs better than what your associates can do, right? So we have gone from productivity to creativity, right? When we have this technology that empowers, and it's not replacing people, it's empowering us. And there will be, in the short term, there will be some disposition and rather replacement or repositioning of these people roles, right? Now, you all know what is AI and why it matters to your business, right? So we are currently at an inflection point where AI is not just a technology trend, right? It's a strategic shift. You're able to move from your gut-based, decision process to a data augmented based decisioning, right? So leaders are now relying on no more relying on experience and intuition of some human, right? They are using AI to get some real-time insights, scenario modeling, predictive analytics, right? We are moving away from command and control to more collaborative with machines, right? Earlier, we just issued commands and instructions to machine, but now we are able to co-create with AI. We are automating the routines. We are amplifying our creativity, right? We are able to generate executive summaries. We are able to get investor memos. We are able to get product ideas. But for that, you need to give it key in something, right? Key in clearly what you exactly need, right? For example, prompts. We are moving away from job roles to more skill-based workforces, right? We are looking talking less about roles, and we are getting into more adaptable skills, right? um, right. And we are upskilling and reskilling our workforce as we speak, right? So for all these, there is an executive mindset shift needed, right? For as you leaders, we are expecting you to optimizing the present and designing the future, right? We are from move away from delegating to partnering with AI, right? Move away from knowing answers to asking better questions, right? How you can unleash human and machine potential, right? So really, as leaders, the time is to experiment boldly, where you can use AI and you're rewarded, right? And you are able to invest in your talent, right? AI, with AI you can be a leadership superpower, right? By doing that, and you are able to again continue to lead with ethics, right? You are able to bring that long term impact to your business, right? So AI is definitely not replacing leaders, right? It might replace probably a person who was writing code, right? Into right maybe reviewing code and prompting and generating code and doing other high level engineering work, right? But AI will definitely not replace leaders, because leaders who use AI would actually be replacing those who don't, right? So that was AI, and definitely you all understand the importance of that, right? And then there is this advent of Gen AI, which is a type of AI which can create new content, right? It can create text, it can create images, it can create audio, video, code, right, based on the data that it has learned from, right? So the Gen AI, AI was analyzing, right? Gen AI doesn't just analyze, it is creating, right? So you can use Chat GPT, Jasper, and these are some of the tools, right? And then there are a lot of large language models and what we call as base models or foundational models, right? Which you can use and create summarizations. You can create various capabilities on top of it, right? Which can make your job easier, right? So now that's another kitty that Gen AI brings to the table, right? Where you can look at productivity at scale, where you can personalize. Like for example, you want to send a mass customized email, right? You want to set up customized websites. You want to set up personalized ads, right? Or you want to create documents for millions of users instantly. You can do that using Gen AI, right? So it's a innovation booster sort of, right? So it can do rapid prototyping. It can do uh, very easily. It can do mock-ups, it can do presentations, right? It can write legal contracts, it can create product names, right? So, but definitely the accuracy, the security, the regulations is all something leaders should be guiding these tools, right? If traditional AI was just your analyst, whereas Gen AI has been your creative partner, right, for you leaders. So, really, from a leadership standpoint, right, you need to lean on to Gen AI, right, for productivity gains, for making scalable creativity, scalable innovation, right? And again, that requires a executive mindset shift, right? Like you need to start thinking, where can Gen AI create outsized value for my organization? Where how can I empower my team with guidelines? How can I bring in innovation plus speed focus? How can I bring in a cultural transformation, right? So this will be the call to action, right, when it comes to Gen AI. So definitely there's a strategic alignment needed, right, and from the executive mindset perspective, right? While talking about AI, Gen AI, right, agentic AI has become the another AI tool, right, which is something you need to consider for your one goal-driven workflows, right, for self-directed controls, for multi-tool integrations, for API-ready integrations, right? So some of the examples of agentic AI today are AutoGPT, right? There's something called Devin, right? So Devin is another excellent. Maybe I can show that, right? So you can look up Devin. It is basically a AI coding agent, right? So you can stand up a software engineering team, right, which can partner probably with your existing DevOps team or with your existing analyst, right, and be able to do goal driven workflows for you, right, and write the software engineering code in the as the goal, right. Then there are React agents, right. So React is another very popular um, framework that has been coined right, by some of these open source organizations. And React is a really reasoning and acting agent, right? So it can use LLM to iteratively think, reason, and take actions on your behalf. Right. There are enterprise co-pilots which you can run it in agentic mode, right? So you might already be aware if you're using GitHub Copilot, right, with the enterprise license, there is something called an agentic mode, right? So you can say, okay, create a code for me, right, and write a unit test for that, and then test it out, and then deploy that in production, right? So it will do all of that. So that is agentic mode for you, right? Now all these are there out there, but what it means for you leaders, right? So the consideration really for you leaders, again, I will try to emphasize that along the way is, how are you bringing the security and control, right? So these agents are making decisions, but you need to be able to add those strict guardrails, right? So leaders will be responsible to do that, right? And how can you ensure there is auditability, right? Let's say the agentic AI is taking decisions on your behalf, right? Or which agent took which decision, right? So you should be able to trace it back, right? And of course, scalability. Right, so there is no point if you are able to you want to send out some invites for a certain event. There is no point building an agentic AI for that, right? So the use case should be solid, and the solution should be scalable, right? So agents will become digital teammates, right? Like I was talking about the Devin, right? So it can be a digital teammate, right? You can plan for workflows, and you need not just think about features now anymore, right? So scalability is another considerations for you leaders, right? So, just from this slide, the takeaway for you is, there has been an evolution, right? Industrial revolution has happened, and it has evolved into where we are today, where we are using machines to be able to analyze tasks, which is AI, and generate tasks, which is Gen AI, and be able to come up with goal-driven workflows, which is agentic AI, right? Now, you may be able to like cross leverage some of this, or bring build out pointed solutions using these tools, right? um, like I said, now we'll get into some of the use cases, and again, the bottom line will be, this is really the next wave of enterprise automation that we are seeing, right? So there was co-pilots. Now we are thinking of agentic AI as a co-worker, right? So Devin is really a co-worker, and under the hood, Devin is actually doing using co-pilot, right? And we lead as you leaders, you must start exploring how you can use these autonomous executions to add the most value, and then how you can govern that to use this responsibly, right? So we'll try to cover some of these in the coming slides. Hopefully that quick level setting and context helps, right? So what are the characteristics of these AI agents, right? So these agentic AI, or AI agents are, they are autonomous, right? So they operate without any human intervention, right? So are making decisions, they're taking actions, right? So there will be hundreds of support tickets that it can go take look at, and it need not need any input from you any longer, right? Because you trained it for almost all the different flavors of tickets that you can see, and the goal is driven. The goal is very clear, and it will take the right approach to meet that goal, right? And then it can make decisions, right? It can apply reasoning, and it can apply decision making to choose the best course of action on your behalf, right? And it can perceive, right? So it can look at the context. It can understand that, okay, this is coming from a customer who is very annoyed, right? So I have to first of all, get this customer to be I should be empathizing, I should be sympathizing, right? And it can also, when I say perceive, it can also integrate with sensors. It can do integrate with various input mechanism and be able to perceive the environment, right? So it can gather data, it can understand in the context that it is currently operating, right? And another great thing about this is the learning part, right? So it can learn from feedback. You don't have need any constant human supervision, and it can do that, right? So and because it does all this, there is the productivity part, right? And you can automate and orchestrate an entire workflow. Let's say you have a customer onboarding process, right? And a customer comes, you probably take in their tin number, or their SSN, or their organization name, or if it's an individual customer, their indicative data to be able to onboard them. And then maybe you do like a KYC, right? And then probably you do some third party background checks, right? And then you give them identity within your system, right? And then you send a welcome mail, right? So let's say you're doing all this step as customer onboarding. Now you can use an agentic AI, right, which can do all these tasks, right? And let's say earlier with a team you were able to onboard let's say 10 customers a day. Now you can scale it out to like a millions of customers, right? Because all these are automated, and there are a lot of dynamics involved, right? So there are all a lot of variability, and by learning it can be able to action accordingly, right? And decision making, it can continuously learn from data. It can uh, you can give feedback for every action that it takes, and over time it is learning that. And there is this concept of reinforcement learning, right? Where there is a reward mechanism, right? So it will take action so that it gets rewarded more and more, right? So you put that agent in an environment, and we call that as a reinforcement learning, right? So it will recommend what are the most optimal actions that it can take, right? And you can scale this, you can replicate this behavior across your organization, right? Now let's say you did this for customer onboarding, right? Tomorrow you build another organization, right? Or you spin off another organization out of this, and again you want to do customer onboarding again. You can be able to replicate the exact behavior, right? And it operates 24/7. There is no holidays, right? It reacts to events in real time, right? And then it is self-improving, right? So it will itself suggest new strategies or products, right? So those are the things that makes agentic AI what it matters today, right? So some historical background and evolution. We talked some of this, so I'll quickly run through them, right? So 1950s and 60s, the focus was on how you can mimic human thought, right? So how you can create another human brain sort of thing, right? So that was what a lot of researchers were focused on, right? So we had the Turing test, which was recommended by the great Alan Turing, right? During the World War II, right? So Alan Turing, is Turing test is still used, right? So by the way, if I want to explain what is Turing test, right? So you have a computer, right? And then there is a screen, right? And you have a human on the other side trying to interact with the computer, and the way the human communicates back is in a way that the person thinks that it's another human on the other side, right? So if it's able to do, then we say this as an AI. We coin this machine as an AI, right? Very simple test, but still effective. In fact, the OpenAI, when they launched, when they used the GPT, I think 4.5, they still use the Turing test to prove that this is still an AI, right? So it is still relevant. Then John McCarthy came with symbolic AI, right? So these were early days, and then slowly the focus shifted to more decision making and rule based systems, right? So there was these expert systems that came in the 70s and 80s where it was a sequence of if else, right? So if this, then do this. If not, do this. If not, do this. So there were hundreds and thousands of rules that we would write, right? And it would go through these rules, and it would execute, right? So it worked then because these the inputs were almost fixed and the output was always fixed, right? But over time the input started changing, the output was also, expectations were also changing, so it did not meet up, right? So it did not be able to be relevant anymore, right? So in the 90s, we saw the rise of machine learning where we've had algorithms that were able to learn from data, right? So we had neural networks, which was, inspired by the way human brain works. So there are neurons which are connected to various other neurons, and as soon as we get some data, neurons get fired, and that way we are able to make sense of that input, right? So very similar, if you want to learn complex data, we thought machines can, through machines, we thought we can have neurons and build a network, a complex network around it, right? And then came fully connected neural network, which was computationally complex, but it did a great job of learning complex data, right? And be able to generalize, and do tasks such as classification and regression, right? What is classification? Where I'm able to classify a certain input, right? Let's say I have a picture that come, I would classify whether this picture belongs to a dog, a cat, or it's an automobile, right? So I'm able to classify that, and that's called classification. So neural network was able to train. They were able to have these network classify what kind of a image, what kind of an input object that is looking. And it worked very well for unstructured data, right? When I say unstructured data, I meant images, it could be files, it could be documents, it could be video, and things like that, and even time series data, right? And then we also came across reinforcement learning in the 90s. Again, all these needed very high computation, which was expensive at those days, right? But in 2000s, and again, it needs two things, right? There is data and there is compute, right? And both was a little hard to find, right? At least it was very capital intensive at that point. But by 2000, what happened was, 90s, a lot of business went digital, right? And we had, at our disposition, millions, or, in fact, bytes and bytes of digital data, right? So we thought, why not use that data and get some useful insight, right? To that. So that led to big data, right? And even computationally, there was more focus on how we can make more computational efficient and more smaller devices, right? And that led to that made us possible to do more natural language processing, where we needed neural networks and algorithms such as those, and which needed very high computation, right? We were able to do computer vision, we were able to build autonomous systems, right? And we had small AI agents which could handle complex tasks, right, in the 2000. And in the 2010s, at least in the last decade, we had state of art AI, performance, right? So we saw the advent of transformers, right, which really changed the way we look at AI, right? So Google, published a paper in 2017, which is called "Attention is All You Need." Right? Again, I highly recommend this to read this. It is not at all technical, right? It runs to about 30 pages, which is easily digestible. So again, recommend you all to look this up and be able to read that, right? So they told, like, if you are treating any natural language, right, all you need is attention, right? All you need is those important context, right, from that natural language, and the rest, AI can take care, right? So that led to more models such as CNNs, which is which is used for images. Then recurrent neural networks, which was basically for NLP, natural language, right? We were able to do convolutional, machine learning, and that led to CNNs. And then integration with IoT and with cloud computing expansion, right? We were able to build more and more applications, right? So there was really, all these has led to the inflection point that we are in today, right? So now, what is the importance of AI agents? We kind of touched upon this. Um, there is, of course, the automation, right? You can automate and orchestrate the entire workflow, right? And what used to be a very time consuming task where you needed human workers, you're able to focus on strategic and creative initiative instead of doing those mundane tasks, right? It can scale, and it is able to process vast amount of data, right? And then you are able to do a real-time decision making. It can do adapt, it is adaptable, right? So why we say adaptable is because it is able to work with any of these existing technologies and also tools, right? It can work with machine learning. Let's say you want much more, let's say, a robotic and reward kind of a ecosystem. You can use reinforcement learning. Let's say you want to do more comprehension, like, then you can use large language models, right? So it can evolve as well, right? So that's why we are calling it adaptable, right? And then it is personalized, right? So you need not build one. There is no one GitHub Copilot, right? So each one uses it differently. There is no one chat GPT, right? So each one of us use it differently, and even the output that we get is highly personalized. So what are the how these AI agents operate really, right? So they basically, these AI agents are able to perceive. They use sensors like cameras, microphones. You might have seen this used in some of these autonomous vehicles, right? Waymo is does this. Tesla also does that, right? They use lidar and the cameras, right? And they're able to detect objects around its surroundings, right? And now detection was just AI, right? So that's where the buck stops with AI, right? Now being able to let's say describe this becomes Gen AI, right? But agentic AI takes it a step forward by taking autonomous action if based on that object, right? And again, let's say based on that action there is a following action that needs to be done, right? Based on, again, dynamic nature of the surroundings, it can still do that, right? So that's the power of agentic AI. And it can reason, it doesn't take decisions based on emotions, right? It is able to analyze data and take data augmented decision making. It can apply logical rules and then make decisions, right? A lot of recommendation systems today, Netflix uses a very comprehensive recommendation system, right? And they were all AI driven, and of course in few milliseconds they have to run through and crunch so many data and recommend certain movies to you, right? Now Netflix has again evolved. They are now using agentic AI, where based on your previous action, right, it's running through the recommendation system, and then it is giving you recommendations and future action that you can take, right? And again, the sensory, the perception is again very active. It's waiting for how you can what you take, what action you take, and how it can respond. There is the action where these agents will execute task, right? It could be physical, it could be digital, it could mostly it is digital, right? Maybe in the world of robotics it might be more physical, right? Of course, robotic vacuum cleaners does physical, but that's very a very low level example today. But the hope, the expectation is that there will be more physical agents, that can make our task much easier, right? We talked about learning, where how it can there is the it can use machine learning, it can use neural networks, and even reinforcement learning to be able to improve the performance by learning from its past experiences, right? Now there are different types of agents, folks. There is simple reflex agents, right? Where it can look at where it can operate based on some predefined rules, right? Where it can look at and respond directly based on certain input, right? So that was simple reflex agents. And then just one moment. Yeah. Yes, they respond to immediate inputs, and they're based on preset rules. There is not much memory involved, right? When we talk about simple reflex agents, there is model-based reflex agents, which are which basically use internal models of the environment. They are able to learn from the training process and take informed decision based on that, right? Then there is the goal-based agent, which can actively plan actions, which can, using these actions, it will achieve specific objectives, right? Like, for example, let's say customer onboarding, right? And then there are utility-based agents, which can evaluate different potential outcomes, right? Let's say I have to book an appointment, right? Now it can see what is the different outcomes that are possible, right? Of course, the goal is to book an appointment, but how it can do, right? It may be able to call up, the business and book an appointment, or it be able to use their website and book an appointment, or it can talk to another bot, right? That this business owns and book an appointment, right? So there are multiple potential outcomes here, right? So it will evaluate between them and maximize the benefit, right? So then there are the learning agents, which can continuously learn from previous interactions and be able to improve the performance, right? These agentic AI, while these are some of the top level different types of agentic AI, the most popular classification among agentic AI is whether they are autonomous, right? Whether they are multimodal, right? Autonomous or non-autonomous, right? And then there is the multimodal, right? Now let me explain what is this, right? So autonomous means they are able to operate with minimal human intervention. They are independent. They are deciding the best action that can achieve the goal by themselves, right? Non-autonomous is where you are not fully confident. It will give a confidence score, and then you take a decision based on that, right? You review. There is a human in the loop, right? In most cases, right? Multimodal is where these agents can understand diverse data types, right? It can understand text, it can understand voice, images, it can understand the code, right? And all these it can do together as well, right? Simultaneously. So these are broadly the classifications of agentic AI, right? Now, yeah. All right. So any questions so far, folks? Please feel free to put them on the chat if you have any. Right. I'll continue and we'll talk about how what is the learning mechanism for agentic AI. Right. So So let's use an example to explain this. Okay, let's say there is a call center, right? Let's say there's a call center, and in this call center, 50% of the customer requests are simple tasks, right? Like password reset or lost card replacement, right? Now here is a classical example where you can use agentic AI and provide an ideal solution and take over those repetitive tasks, which are manually done to be more autonomous, right? And typically, how would you do? Customer will call, and the agentic AI will interact with the system, and the customer is actually interacting with the system. Agentic AI is observing, it's understanding the request using natural language processing, it's verifying the customer identity, right? And using security, right? It will probably use multi-factor authentication, or it will use contextual data like voice, right? And it's verifying that it's customer. And once it's authenticated, the agentic AI will perform the required action by itself, right? It will reset the password. It will initiate card replacement. It will call the appropriate backend systems and APIs and update the new password, or it will update the history. It will, initiate a card replacement transaction, right? And then let's say this is all done. Now the system will monitor the outcome, right? It will confirm if whatever the agentic AI did, the task itself, was it a success, right? Or else, does it need an escalation to a human agent? Is there a complication, right? Does someone need to be notified? You don't have to build a rule around it, right? The agentic AI can itself monitor and make that decision for you, right? And then, of course, customers' perspective, they are receiving real-time updates. They're getting automatic confirmations. There is no human intervention, so there is no thing of a delay here, right? Now here, I talked about how the monitoring is happened, right? So to do that, it needs to know what is probably those tasks which requires an escalation and those tasks which doesn't require an escalation. What are those tasks which can confirm as a success? What are those tasks which I can confirm as a task failure, right? So that that comes from a learning called supervised learning, right? Supervised learning is nothing but where you have labels, right? And data, labeled data, right? Or I can say where you have a labeled data. What do I mean by labeled data, right? Let's say I want to predict the weather for tomorrow. I want to do weather prediction, right? So what do I need to do weather prediction? What kind of data I need? Probably I need day-wise data, right? Maybe day one, day two, historical data. I need historical data. Now, historical data, what do I need? Maybe I need day one, day wise temperature, right? Maybe I need to know the humidity, right? Maybe I need to know the precipitation. Maybe I need to know the wind speed, right? Maybe I need to know whether the cloud was overcast or, how cloudy it was, right? Maybe overcast, right? And on that day, given all these indicative data, did it rain? Right? Now I gather all this data, right? I need to predict weather prediction, rain weather prediction, let's say, right? I want to predict whether it's will rain or not. Now this is the data I have for historically for more the number of days I have my chance of predicting the rain tomorrow is more, right? Because I can very well understand the pattern in which it will rain, right? So over time, I have collected all this data, and because my label is whether for this day, my label is whether it rained or not, right? True, false, or true, false, right? So that is why we call this as label data, because we have a data and it's labeled whether it will rain or not. Now, there are cases where we don't have any label data, right? Let's say we have target, or let's say let's take super. market chain or a retailer chain, right? E-retailer chain like Amazon, let's say Amazon, okay, has customers, right? Millions of customers. And Amazon comes to me and ask, right? So who among my customers are the most, active customers, right? And who among my customers are only shopping during sale, or discount time, right? Who among my customers are hardly shopping on my platform, right? So I want them, right? So now you don't have a label. All you have is a customer, and you need to label them whether they are highly active customers or they are, maybe moderately active customers or low active customers, right? So this label you need to give, and those are called unlabeled data, and you need to use mechanisms such as unsupervised learning to do that. Right. So you basically are trying to identify patterns and behavior patterns of the customer and be able to label them, right? And based on those patterns. Right. So we use techniques such as clustering, dimensionality reduction to do that, right? And the same thing agentic AI does, right? So if there is a task that I give it to agentic AI, it would use an unsupervised learning to do that, right? And let's say I want to make sequential decisions and maximize the reward, right? So I would say you have to go from, you have to somehow complete a game, right? So I start the game, right? And there is the finish, right? And then there are many obstacles here, right? Somehow you have to traverse through these and be able to finish that, right? So those kind of environment where you have a start and a finish, and there are multiple approaches, multiple outcome potentials, right? That's when you use reinforcement learning, right? So just keeping conscious of the time here. So practically how you would implement, you need to do data collection, you need to do model training, you need to be able to deploy, your models, you need to monitor them, real time, and um, be able to maintain them. Right. So some of the applications, I'm listed here, but just to call out, I'm seeing when I work with various organizations, I'm seeing, cyber security. There is a lot of agentic AI application, right? So I'm seeing autonomous threat detection and response as a common use case that most organizations are using agentic AI for, right? So they're using advanced autonomous and adaptive AI to be able to work in complex evolving IT environments, right? And be able to come up with and detect new threats, right? So agentic AI will monitor network. It will monitor your cloud. It will monitor endpoints in real time, and any abnormal behavior, right, without any predefined rules, it is able to identify, right? Because these days you have these firewalls, right, which most of the organization use, which are all rule based, right? The agentic AI is able to do that without any predefined rules, right? And once it identifies a threat, the system can autonomously, right, it can contain the compromised endpoints, maybe bring that pod down, bring that server down, right? And block that malicious IP. It can quarantine the files. It can initiate forensic analysis, right? Even because for human, it may take a long time to be able to like do root cause analysis and then be able to triage this and be able to take action, right? So that was, one of the interesting AI application that I have been coming across. I've been talking about why it matters for leaders, right? It is definitely going to increase your productivity. It will increase efficiency, and definitely you will see reduction in cost over time, right? So definitely it's something for worthwhile for everyone to consider, right? And again, this has already made an impact in across the industry, right? So we talk about HR, finance, RPA, production, you name it. So there is a impact agentic AI has made. in across the industry, right? Now, if you are interested in how you can build and stand up agents on your own, right? How you can guide your teams in and how you can bring in security and controls to agentic AI. If you want to take this learning forward, then there is this wonderful program that I want to recommend, which is AI for leaders, right? And this is basically a 2-month program, and you start with even if you're non-technical, if you don't know any coding, right? You can still take this program and get the most of it, right? Because everyone starts with a clean slate in this program, right? So there is a boot camp sort of thing where you're taught how what is the business of AI, what is AI, what is data visualization, what are some of the statistical analysis you can do, and how you can build a AI project, right? Then you incrementally learn supervised learning, you learn unsupervised learning, and then neural networks, because these are building blocks, right? Be it Gen AI, be it agentic AI, these are the learning blocks that you definitely need, right? So you are up to speed in about 5 to 6 weeks time, right? And then there is the Gen AI, where you're focused on understanding how large language model works, what are the kind of errors you see, how do you handle prompts, what are the different techniques of prompting, how do you ensure these Gen AI strategy that you're taking is aligned to your business goals, right? And all of these comes with projects, right, where you are working on real world practical projects, and there are multiple case studies, right? So that you can use to be able to apply what you have learned, right? And like I said, who is this program for? Anybody who is basically a decision maker, or involved in decision making within your organization, right? Any role. It need not be technical, non-technical, right? So this program is for you if you are in the leadership level, right? And this program, the faculty is one of the these are the greatest in the academic world of AI, right? And you can definitely gain real world experience as much as what let's say a chapter leader or a squad leader who has been looking into Gen AI and agentic projects for about 2 years. So you would gain as much experience as this person, right, by the end of this program. Here are some testimonials. I'll just pause here. You can read through this. Some of these learners have gone through this program, and they have been able to uh, make some career trajectory. They are able to advance in their career in the field of AI. So again, why now? Because definitely you want to take advantage of the early adopters, and be on top of it. So how do you take this forward? If you are interested, you can screenshot this page, and I will request Elil to share a feedback form which also has contact details. But definitely screenshot this and get in touch, right, with the program manager, and they will have all the details for you about the program, and steps to take that forward. And there is a link on the Zoom chat. Thank you, Elil, for sharing that. So please follow the link, and provide the feedback and the details, so someone can also get in touch with you. Right. So that's what we had, folks. Hopefully this was helpful and valuable. Really what we did was, introduce you to agentic AI, right? What it is, where it's applied, some real world use cases we called about, the evolution of agentic AI, right? And we talked about the types of agentic AI and some learning mechanism, right? So very, very foundational, but definitely these concepts will help you as you get into more advanced topics, right? And wishing you all the very best. Thank you for being a patient listener. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.